What is up, everyone? Welcome to Mechs on Deck. It's Wednesday, and we are here joined by an old friend. One of our original, if not, I think even the first guest we ever had on Mechs on Deck.
I want to say it was
Yeah.
episode 4. We had a discussion about like what makes a fancy board fancy.
True.
That's a long time
A
ago.
premium board. That was over 2 years ago.
Didn't we have to re-record the episode or something? Is that what happened?
That was
Yep.
totally my fault. Yeah, it was actually first time using like a DSLR or my mirrorless camera, and I didn't realize that it automatically added another audio track to OBS, and everything was doubled, and it just sounded absolutely awful.
Good morning to you.
Wow.
So
Well, thank you, Jay, for the 1 month sub.
Appreciate you.
the tier 1 sub for 1 month.
Welcome.
Let's see. And then Aussie Obsessions. Hello. Thank you for the tier 1 sub for 3 months. Good morning.
Ozzy's pictures on Insta make me want to buy more keyboards, and that's not a good thing.
Dude, I love just watching his like explanations of how he takes his pictures. It's awesome. Obviously, that's like his background is photography schooling and stuff like that. But yeah, it's awesome, and it does make me also want to buy boards again. Like I feel like I fell in love with the M65A again based on just the picture that he had, where it was reflecting
Yep.
against his table. Oh,
There it is. So quick, I don't know, fucking just me calling people out for being stupid. Don't drink and drive. Don't drink and drive.
So this, yeah.
One of our close personal friends, like I've met her multiple times, was struck by a drunk driver. This is Davis from 3D Keeps. We literally just had her on like 3 weeks ago. And she was struck by a drunk driver. She's alive. Luckily, I saw the fucking aftermath of it. But like, you know, I imagine most people in this chat, I don't have to tell that to. Like, I imagine most people in this chat are intelligent enough to like call an Uber or whatever. But please keep in your thoughts and prayers, if that is something that you are into, Davis for a speedy recovery. She had a major broken ankle, and it was heartbreaking. She messaged me last night at like 2 a.m. and was like, "I need your help." I'm like, "What do you need?" And she just sent me a thing with her wrist, and she's like, "I might need you to run the store for a little bit." And I was like, "Well, I'm happy to do whatever." And I saw all the stuff, and it was hard to see. But it stinks seeing, you know, that's like that drunk driver has taken away now both of her jobs. They've taken away a vendor for a while from our small community. And you know, potentially permanently, I mean, definitely permanently damaged her ankle. So it was really sad to see. Davis, if you watch this, we're pulling for you. For a speedy recovery. Let us know here at Mechs on Deck if you need anything. And guys, please do not drink and drive. It's the stupidest thing you can do. She's incredibly lucky she walked away with her life.
absolutely. Glad that she's okay. I know that it's gonna be a rough couple months for her, but glad that she's okay. She did surgery. Sounds like surgery went well, and that she'll be on the road to recovery. But yeah, be safe out there. If you feel like you need an Uber, just get it. You know,
Get it. If you're in the Dallas area, fucking message me on Discord, because I'd rather someone be safe than make a horrible mistake.
absolutely.
Plus, we're not fortunate like Jay here, where we get, you know, if our ankle breaks, well, that might financially cripple us. Jay over here is like sipping tea. He's like, "Oh yeah, I cut my finger just a little bit, but it's all good. It didn't cost $9,000. I'm sitting here, you know, having a coffee while I get thousands of dollars of medical."
I mean, yeah, there's the medical side of it, but hey, it's a livelihood as well, right? It's David's livelihood. You know, 3D
Yeah.
Keep, it's a job. Like if the same thing happened to me, you know, prototypist, same thing. You know, the medical stuff is only one side of it. It's
Yep.
people's livelihoods, people's jobs, people's way of feeding their families. It's not good. I think I can't even condone anything. Even having one beer and driving, don't do it. Like
Yeah.
it's not even beer or alcohol. It's drugs as well. Don't do things that you shouldn't be then in control of heavy machinery with, guys. Just
Yeah.
be steady.
It's rough. So, but Davis, please, our thoughts and prayers are with you. But we'll go on to Jay. So Jay, welcome back. I think this is the first time you've been on our stream alone.
Yeah, I think so.
Because obviously timing, asking you guys have moved time slots. We'll talk about that in a little while. But for the longest time, you guys it would be tough for you to stay up so late 2 nights in a row, especially on Wednesday in the middle of the week. But guys, if you don't know, Jay is one half of Top Clack. They are one of the few other keyboard talk shows with 2 people. And he is also the owner and CEO, the president, the everything, the knight in shining armor of Prototypist in the EU. So, well,
UK,
sort of, not
UK
really not in the
thing.
EU. Sorry, not in the EU.
Yeah.
In the UK. So, welcome to Mechs on Deck, man.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here. It's been a while since it's been a while since we've even chatted, right? I've just been that busy. I've not even had time to chat with you guys. So it's just nice to catch up and be back as well. So yeah, I'm excited for this.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the last time that we were all on a stream together was the Man of
Christmas.
Interest, or was it? Yeah,
No,
it was Christmas.
Christmas.
It was Christmas.
It was Christmas because that was a bad stream for me.
Oh,
I
yeah.
had dental pain, and there was like parts of the stream where I just put my head down because I was in so much fucking pain. I couldn't talk for like 40 minutes because so I'm glad I get to talk to you this time.
Yeah, Lisa's I think every stream we've done, someone's got some
sort of physical
inhibiting
some
physical disability or pain or something. Yeah, it's always the way. We're all getting old.
So you I mean, I don't want to, obviously it's a sore subject, literally and figuratively, but you took a spill recently.
Yeah. So I have a slipped disc in my thoracic spine, which is about as unpleasant as it sounds. I was lifting something way heavier than I should have been, and now I can't move very well. So I'm doped up on painkillers, not driving on them because I'm not allowed to do heavy machinery whilst I'm on them. But yeah, painkillers are helping me through the day at the minute.
Well, hopefully another speedy recovery for you. Guys, real quick, we have some awesome sponsors and partners with Canon Keys, OmniType, Project Keyboards, and Kinetic Labs on the sponsor end, and Zap Cables, Type Beast, 3D Keybs, and Smith & Rune on the partner end. We'll hear more from them later. We usually start off with a Fast 4. It's been I don't even know if you've ever done a Fast 4.
I don't think
it was a thing last time I was on. No.
Yeah, it was because that was created a little bit later. So, top 4 favorite Switches.
Brown Alps, number 1, always. Can't get away from them. Zycos have been a recent convert. They're the only tactile that I will use. It's an MX tactile recently. Up until about a week ago, that was the only one.
You, Brian!
I've had enough Holy Pandas. Like, Holy Pandas, yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. Other than that, Lavenders have been big on my want list as well recently. They're probably the best Durox Switch I've used ever, and that's a big claim. And then after that, I'm probably going to have to go for just standard Cherry Vint Blacks, like the old school standard Vint Blacks.
They work, don't fix it.
Yeah, exactly, right. I had a board from Amir a little while ago, and he had some Vint Blacks in that, and they were just the best Vint Blacks I've ever had. They were literally the best ones I've ever tried. I'm very jealous of that board.
I think that's like my biggest gripe about vintage blacks is that they vary so heavily between ones that you get. Like, I've even seen them at meetups. Like, I don't have any boards with vintage blacks, but at meetups, I'm like, all right, these switches feel amazing, but then these ones on this other row don't feel that great. Like, but yeah, if you can get a really solid batch that are pretty consistent between each other, they are awesome.
I think the trick is taking them from a board that's been really heavily used. The more used the board is, the better the switches seem to feel. So if you've got one that's been in an office that's been used for 30 years non-stop, they're going to feel great. They're going to be perfect. You clean them up, lube them, they're going to be great. I think that's the trick.
Absolutely. Well, next up will be your top 4 favorite keycap sets.
Oh, I knew you were going to ask this. Number 1, Honeywell. Can't get away from it. I was really excited to see that DCS Honeywell is going to run as well. That's really exciting. Yeah, I knew as immediately. He's like Honeywell. Yeah, Honeywell's number 1. I'm going to say something controversial for number 2. How about some Handabite?
Oh,
Definitely controversial.
Yeah, and the reason is not because it's not because I like the set. I dislike it, but I like the fact that it's the history behind it. Like, if that had never been created by Cherry back in the day to show off at trade shows, we wouldn't have the hobby that we have today. Like this, it just wouldn't exist, right? So yeah. And then I'm gonna go for Taro and Botanical to finish off the list.
There it is. There it is. Solid list. All right. If it begins with J, you can't put it on this list. Top 4 favorite keyboards.
F1ATEX by GeonWorks. I haven't stopped using it since I got one. I now have one in nearly every color because I just dedicated myself to finding them. The OGR from AKB, I recently got to try the latest prototype of that. Big fan of that board. I can't wait for the group buy. What else would I pick? The FLX Virgo. That's the Alice style TKL from Flex. Really enjoy that. And then I'm gonna pick the Prophet from West Foxtrot Cable Car Designs from Max. That's also top standout board for me.
nice.
That's the pin mount Prophet.
It is, yeah. It was the first pin mount board, yeah. I think he did the Angel, which was a 65% afterwards. That's just recently run.
Yeah. Who I think was it? I think Switch Doctor also you said the Prophet in hers last week.
Yeah.
So yeah, a lot of people like that
Back to
board.
back weeks of the Prophet.
It's a solid board. I've got one of the original prototypes. I can't lift it at the minute because of my back, but it's up on the shelf there. It's a solid board. It's really good.
I remember. I think I watched the VOD of that build stream, and I remember you being like, it's always fun to find the boards that you're not that we're not always, at least somewhat excited for building a keyboard, but being surprised by something that you're not really expecting to blow you away has always been like super fun. That's probably the best part of building keyboards for people. Is kind of, I don't want to call I don't want to say diamond in the rough. That doesn't mean there are a lot of bad boards, but like when you're not really, when it doesn't strike, it doesn't, with pin mount and all that, it doesn't scratch, it doesn't, check off those boxes of all the things that are like the hype keyboards in this hobby.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been wanting to try one, but can't really go anywhere.
Didn't you like fill the logo on the back too? I think I remember seeing that on a stream.
Yeah, this has been a couple of years ago when I got the boarding because it was one of the early prototypes. I think Max produced like 10 and I managed to snag one of those. So this has been a couple of years ago. I actually wrote a guide on how to infill your keyboard and did a whole like video stream on it and stuff like that. And then I've seen a load of people take it to extremes now and they do stuff that I couldn't even dream of doing. It's amazing to see. But yeah, I used some of the what was it called now? It's like not the blackest black. It's not Vanta Black, but it's a kind of like
Black
a
3.0.
Black 3.0. Yeah, Stuart Semple. That's where it's from. I used some of that acrylic paint in the back. It looks really nice because I've got one of the red Prophets, which is only done in the prototype round. So the red and black looks really good. Yeah, big fan of that.
Yeah, I remember watching that stream and being like, man, this is so sick. It's also kind of a lot of work. Don't know if I want to do this, but it turned out awesome.
Yeah, it's great. The first board I ever did that on, and this is pre Top Clack days. That's how long ago this is. I actually did some white infill with the same company's ultra white paint. I can't remember what it was called. And I actually got a message about this a couple of days ago saying, "How did I dare do this to this board?" But it was actually my TGR Alice. I had a pink Alice, and I infilled the logo on that like straight after the group buy had shipped. This must have been like late 2017, maybe early 2018, something like that. And someone messaged me the other day saying, "How on earth could you desecrate a board? It's worth like 5 grand or whatever." I don't even have it anymore, but there you go.
Why would like really? Like I feel like that makes it cooler because it makes it a little bit more unique. It adds a little personal touch.
Sure.
Especially if you want to match it to like a keycap set and you want to like take it to the next level. For the karma, you can kind of put in a little of that color to make things matchy. I don't get why people get so upset about people enjoying their boards
Yeah.
and doing fun things with them.
And this was the days when you could get an Alice on the aftermarket for $600, right? It's
Yeah.
not like days like today. So back then, I didn't really mind doing it. It was my keyboard. They weren't really in demand. It was fine. Maybe I'd probably feel a little bit different about doing it today. I don't know. But
Yeah.
I like Lang's approach, where he takes the
just do
takes the
whatever.
back of a
Cooks a
do what I mean,
steak
'cause
on it,
it's like it's your he got a lot of flack for being like, oh, you're privileged, and it's like, well, maybe like maybe you are he is a little bit because he owns one, I guess, if you want to, but then it's like and everyone in this hobby is privileged because at the end of the day you can go buy a $10 keyboard off of Amazon.
For sure.
But
Yeah.
yeah, beat up your boards. Like, I mean, don't physically just sit there and slam them on the ground, but like, make it yours.
enjoy
Make
them
it
how
yours.
you want to.
If they get a battle scar, it's a battle scar, it's not
It's
ruined.
earned, right?
It's
It's a
earned.
badge of
Yep.
honor.
I
Yeah.
had a Fiel that has a nick, or it had a nick in it. I assume it's still there. And it was from a dice roll, from a metal dice playing D&D. And I was playing D&D with the person that now owns the Fiel, so it's kind of a nice
Nice.
little story now.
Yeah. Yeah. That's really cool. Yeah. I like that.
Well,
So-
we've got one last question on the fast four that has nothing to do with keyboards, and it is your top 4 favorite foods.
Okay. So starting at the top, anything Indian cuisine. I absolutely adore Indian cuisine. Hot, spicy, tasty, the best. But then I'm gonna go for some classics. A good old cheeseburger. Can't beat a cheeseburger. Cheeseburger hits the spot any day of the week. I'm just gonna struggle after that because I like so many different things. Thai green curry after that. Love Thai food as well. And then it's the toss up for the fourth slot between like some Korean barbecue or maybe a bowl of pho. Probably gonna go for the pho. It's just wholesome, hearty food.
There you go. I feel like those two depends on like what the weather's like, right? If it's like cold and rainy, pho all day long. But if it's like maybe a little warmer, it's like let's go for some Korean barbecue.
Sure, I live in the UK, so it's gonna be
It's
pho every
cold.
day,
Yeah,
right?
flat.
Yeah.
Well, there's the community aspect and like the experience of doing Korean barbecue. It's like something that you do. Like
For sure.
it's a to do, it's an occasion. You go out and
It's
you get friends
the
together.
entire night. It's not
Yeah.
like part of the night.
Yeah. The last time I actually went for a Korean barbecue was with you guys know Yanka, right? The PCB designer. We were down in London. I can't remember.
We don't know him
what
personally, but know of him.
Sure, yeah, and we both happened to be there at the same time, and we met up, and he brought one of his friends, Demi, along, and I think I was there. I can't remember whether I was there with a friend or there with my wife, but we went out for some Korean barbecue, and that was an amazing place where we went to. I can't even remember the name of it or where it was. It was just some random little Korean barbecue place in the middle of London, and that was a really good night. Really good night. Thoroughly enjoyed that.
Yeah.
Well, guys, again, this is Jay from Top Clack. He's streaming all the way from the UK. He is one half of Top Clack. He is the sole proprietor of Prototypist. I almost just said typo protist. So if you need
that works.
like if you need like a backup name, like typo pro, like if Prototypist goes down, you need to like make a new company real quick. Typo protist.
Yeah, like a tax evasion thing.
He is as well the designer of the JO1 and the JO2. and as well as the eagerly awaiting it's a GMK Midnight Rainbow, which
Next
waiting
month.
next month. Oh,
Yeah, July.
finally.
I had notification from GMK last week that it's in production now and it should ship at the end of this month. So the vendor should have it early July. Yeah.
Very nice. Very excited for that. My wife is very excited for that. And then am I making this up? Did you do Grand Prix? It's a hard thing. You did.
No.
I think you just really like
No,
Grand Prix.
I think I really like that set, but no, I wasn't behind it.
If I'm
Yeah.
forgetting a key set, I apologize.
No,
It's
no,
hard.
you've got pretty much everything.
GMK
The only
Americana.
clarification.
Okay.
Oh no, don't mention that. Why
And
would you
then
bring
yes,
that?
and then
And
of
then the
course
Lodestone.
we are going to talk about the Lodestone. As
Sure.
that is so let's dive into that. So magnets, how do they work?
Magic.
But no, the Lodestone is something that going into last year, it's funny because I think Chewy and I were at a point, or Dave, as we go by our first names now, because yeah,
Like
cool.
Chewie and Osiris are our middle
Cool.
names.
um, but Dave and I going into last year felt a little bit of fatigue from the hobby, and we felt like there was a lot of stuff that was real similar. It seemed like everything was gasket mounted 65% or 75% with a knob or a screen. It felt very cut and paste. And then there were two boards. The Lodestone being the one we're talking about that kind of came in with this grandiose idea of doing something that is a completely different mounting style, completely different change for the hobby. And like, what's that? Where's it at? What point are we at now? Are we gonna start seeing some Lodestone protos here soon?
Yeah, Lodestone Protos have existed for a year now. There's one
Mhm.
right behind me, the orange board right behind me
Yeah.
on the wall. That is a Lodestone prototype. That's fully working. It does everything we want it to do. So the Lodestone's a collaboration between myself and Flex, who did the FLX Virgo, and 2020 was a rough year for both of us. We both had other projects going on. He had the Virgo, I had the JO1 Rev 1. I was setting up Prototypist. I was in the rundown of leaving my day job and officially retiring. And it, when COVID hit, like the production time for everything slowed right down. And we had some prototypes on order when we put the interest check up. I think it was around February sort of time. And we had prototypes on order, and they kept getting delayed and delayed and delayed because, of course, China had just been going through the whole COVID thing before us. And then as soon as they were starting to ramp back up and we got the prototypes over, we couldn't then get all of the other parts we needed because there's other parts that go in there, like the PCBs, the gaskets, you name it. We were waiting for the cases before we ordered all of that kind of stuff. And then we just slowed right down. Before we knew it, we just run out of time. We did do quite a bit of it. I think there's 5 physical prototypes out there now. This is the only one that fully works behind me. The orange. I can't get it down off the wall, but you guys should be able to see it just there. That's it, just there. And we built that around August time, and I think there's a stream where I did on TopClick where I actually showed off how the mounting system works and how it all moves. It wasn't a build stream; it was just more of a case of showing off the final built board. There's a board with Querdenker in Germany actually at the minute for some pictures and some renders. He's going to take some nice snapshots. Yeah, we've just got some final things to do. It's like 95% there. There's like the last 5% that we want to work through between Flex and I just to finalize the design and tweak some of the internals and then it will happen. It's just a case of giving us time to go through that creative process.
Oh, now you have to deal with the PCB and the chips and
Oh man,
chip
yeah.
shortage. That's something that I'm just. I feel like every time Blind Assassin and I have a talk, it's just like so negative now. It's like, all right, what's the next problem?
Because it's not just silicone though. It's like every raw material that we use in this hobby, and even stuff outside the hobby. Like I'm renovating my bathroom, as I told you guys. Like even stuff for that is delayed, and it's almost impossible to get hold of. And I think that it's not even COVID that's caused it. COVID is part of the issue, but the root cause is just how we do just-in-time manufacturing for almost every type of raw consumable out there. But yeah, like getting hold of PCBs is rough now. The JO1 Rev One, the group I ran last September before the whole chip shortage hit, and we had a quote for PCBs, and in the end it was $10,000 more to get the PCBs produced. Just for one group buy, $10,000 extra is what it cost just to get PCBs because of the shortage of chips. It's a nightmare.
Yeah, it's
Which
crazy.
it sucks. You know, it could potentially kill certain projects.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, it's one of those things where it sucks because, you know, we're such a small part of the world that needs these chips. You know, we talked about this yesterday with, you know, like NASCAR stadiums being filled with cars that are just stuck there. And I'm sure I don't know all of, you know, I assume a lot of them are going to be going to some, you know, the medical field or for whatever they need it for. But you know, yeah, it's something that's going. We're already starting to see it, and they're going to be incredibly lasting effects. Or there's just going to have to be a change of how PCBs are made and what is used to get keyboards up and running. Because I talked with Blind for a long time about like, well, what's the process of changing the chip? And he's like, it's a lot more work. Like it's
basically redesign. On the JO1 we did exactly that. So we started off using the standard processors that everyone uses, you know, the Atmel chips. And then in the end we redesigned it twice using a couple of other variants, and we ended up on the STM32, which is the ARM chips. So it's still VIA compatible and everything, and all that's been done. But we went through, you know, a few different revisions and variations because of course we needed to order prototypes and test the PCB, and then we worked out that the cost is going to be astronomically higher. So then we'd redesign the PCB, and then we'd order another prototype, and then by the time we'd done that, that chip then become higher in price. And as I say, in the end, it cost us an extra $10,000 just for one group buy, about 700 PCBs, $10,000 extra cost. It just absolutely insane. And all group buys are going to get hit by that. But it's not just the silicone and chips that's got the issue. The cost of raw aluminium has gone up by about 25%. The cost of raw brass has gone up by about 27%. And pretty much every raw material, you know, you want to buy plywood or wood for construction or anything like lumber, all of that's gone up by about 30% as well. It's just every single raw material is just incredibly expensive right now.
Yeah, the company that I work for, I work in the auto industry, and we have to have large aluminum molds made to do injection molding for like seat foams for
Sure.
cars,
Yeah.
like replacement foam. And the price of getting a new foam mold made has gone up by 5 times just because getting a sheer block of, because it has to be a block of aluminum big enough in order to basically mill out each side to make the mold.
Sure, yeah, you got imagine how big a car seat is, and it's
Mhm.
got to be bigger than the car seat, right, to get your dimensions in. Yeah.
yeah.
So, but
That is. Anyway, let's move on to something maybe a little more exciting. With the JO2s are getting are out there in the world.
They're all done. Yeah, it's all shipped.
They're all
100%
shipped and
yeah.
done. And how's it feel, man?
Good. I'm happy. Yeah, like I mean, the whole JO2 thing happened before Prototypist was a thing, so I think it's the last project I did that I wasn't actually an active vendor for. So it's just really good to finally see all the JO2. So I think most of the JO2 shipped around November time last year. And then it was just people who'd waited on the correct grey, because when the grey had been anodized of the original run, there was quite a few of the units were a lot lighter in color than what they should have been. They should have been quite dark in color. So I think it was just the last of those grey units. And then Canon Keys actually sold their extras, I think last weekend or the weekend before. I think My Keyboard.eu have got a couple left, and I think Ilum KB in Asia, I think they've got 5 left that they need to sell. So I think, yeah, there's still a couple left, but pretty much done. It's a huge weight off my mind. It's a huge relief to finally see it completed, though, because I was very much a passenger for this one. It was a case of handing it over to the vendors and letting them run through it, and they've all done a fantastic job. especially with the wrong grey and keeping communication open with customers. But yeah, it's a bit of a relief to see it all played out. And just a big shout out to James AKB as well, because he's you guys credited me with the design for the JO1 and the JO2 earlier on, but he's the guy that he takes all my ideas that I draw on pen and paper and he puts them into CAD because I don't have that skill.
That's
So
I mean he to you is the blind assassin to me. Like there's
sure, right?
You know,
Yeah.
we just sit here and pretend like we know things, and then they're the ones doing the hard work.
I visualize in my head what I want, and just from a brief chat, he's in my head. He knows what I want, and he then turns that into something we can create a real product with. Yeah.
He's the one where you give him all these ideas, and he's just like, "Really, dude? Come on."
Yeah,
I have to figure this all out.
It'll never work. What on earth are you doing? Yeah, why would you do that? Yeah. You want to do a keyboard and it doesn't have any screws in it anywhere, and you can't do that. Yeah, and then we do it and it works.
There it is.
But yeah, quick shout out to Geo. Thank you for the 22 months, and Pew Pew Laser for the tier 1 for 1 month. Appreciate that. But yeah, it is cool to see those start getting out into the wild. I think I didn't forget about the JO1 last year, but I know like it ran so early on, like because it ran. When did it ran like in January or February, didn't it? Was it pre-COVID?
The JO2. Yeah,
Sorry.
the JO2 ran on the 8th of February, if I remember right.
It was right before.
I almost just like
right
it's like 2020 didn't start for me until lockdown.
Yeah, I completely get that. Yeah.
But man, it's such a cool board, and I know a lot of people I've talked to. Unfortunately, I haven't had a chance to mess around with one, but I've talked to a lot of people that are really, really enjoying it, and it's cool to see that that style. I think the design of it is it's a really pretty board that's simple, but it achieves a lot with the design in terms of how it's just a little bit different. A little bit off on its own. We talked earlier about how a lot of boards felt very cookie cutter. The JO1 and the JO2 have a strong design language that is like off on its own. So I think, man, I can't wait
it's super
to
easy
mess
to
around
go.
with it.
Oh, that's a fucking J. Like that's a fucking that's J. It's a J board.
As we talked about earlier, I've got some. I can't talk about the colorway. I know you guys know what the colorway is, but I've got some JO2s here. I'm gonna send you guys one each to build for me and send back. So I'll get those out to you. You guys can have a play around with them, try them out.
I'm excited. It'll be a few weeks before they ship back out to you.
Just like,
well, and what's cool
I got
when the JO2 came out, 60% are still some of the most widely popular keyboards. They're still because, and I think 90% of that is fucking it's expense. They're relatively inexpensive, although 65% like entry level boards are starting to threaten that. But PCB availability is one of the huge ones there. But up until then, there wasn't a lot of gasket mounted 60% boards, and really at the end of the day, the two nicest 60% boards really were, I guess 2.5. I'll throw the M60 is a solid board, but it's the M60 is I don't want to like shit on the M60 too much. To me, the M60 is a solid low to mid range board that looks like a fucking high end board. That's got a couple features that make it look really, really nice. And aesthetically, it's great. But at the end of the day, it's why did I just go completely blank on the mounting system? Integrated plate.
Yeah, integrated plate, hot swap.
Hot. Like at the end of the day, it's at its bare bones. And but there's the Keycolt 160, which at the time there was like 10 in existence. Yep. And then and that's like that was like the only or one of the very few. I guess you have the Polaris, but the Polaris was the Polaris. And then like the Fiel, the tried and true Fiel, which is at the end of the day a tray mount board. Like the JO2 kind of came in at this time where at the 60% level, which I know Brian is with me on, where it's like I want something 60 that's awesome. And now there's a lot of cool things at the 60% level. There's just tons of stuff that came out, but Quake was backing me up on this. I just felt like 60% was so ignored for like 18 months.
Yeah,
Like
I think
it was like everyone's like, all right, we're gonna make TKLs and 65% and nothing else.
I think TKLs are the easy go-to though, right? Everyone seems to want to do TKL first, and I was really conscious of that when we because originally we did the JO1, the original JO1, and I think that I just had the prototypes made of that when I first came on the show 2 years ago, and then it was a case of what do we actually want to do for something production to run, and I was considering doing like an F-rollless TKL with the pen rail instead of the F-row, and I thought everyone does a TKL. I don't want to do a TKL. I want to do something different. And then we were looking at back. I remember talking to Brian about this at the time as well, and we were talking about boards that had been historic. So Quakems and I were talking about boards that had been historically favourable. What had got us into certain layouts, and we talked about the E6 V2 from Exclusive, and that was one of the first boards that got me into 60%. And then from there, I think the seed was planted that the JO2 was going to be a 60%, and it was going to be a wing keyless 60%. And originally, I was only going to do wing keyless, and then I got convinced to do a full 60 layout. And then one person convinced me to do a HHKB layout, and they promised me the HHKB out would be the bestseller, and we did a form and an interest check form, and almost overwhelming the form came back saying yes, HHKB is going to be the layout I'm going to go for. Yes, that's what we're going to do. And I think in total, out of like the 400 boards that were made or whatever across all the vendors, we sold 17 HHKB, and it was like, oh right, okay, so yeah. Fun times. Hey, Upas is in chat now.
Yeah,
He's here.
Upas.
He'll be able to tell us this.
Thank you, Upas, for the 17 months, and Iwane also for 17 months. Appreciate it from both of y'all. Did Win Keyless end up being the winner, or was it the standard 60 that was sold the most?
Wing Keyless was definitely the highest figure. I don't have the numbers to hand, and I can't remember, but yeah, Wing Keyless was definitely the winner.
It's
the
the best 60%.
I mean, just aesthetically, it's the most pleasing in my opinion. So yeah,
I have been asked multiple times, are you gonna make the Bakken like a full? Can I get like a full layout? Like, can you just take out the? I'm like, nope, no. Buy another board then. Sorry. Like,
there's something about Win Keyless just from a symmetry point of view, and I think that's something that, obviously as a hobby, I would say most of us are pretty nitpicky about like aesthetics, design. Like we want things to be a certain way, to look a certain way. And I think just having the Win Keyless top, especially on a 60 when it already looks fairly symmetrical. That I think the JO2 just looked so much better. It looked so good in the Win Keyless format. Just something about that, like the not saying this like in a negative way, but like the forehead of the board with the pin rail, like that extension out, and then the Win Keyless. I don't know. It just looked.
It's a
better.
5 head. It might even be might even be a 6 head. I'm willing. I'm actually wondering. I'll need to measure this, and I'll send it. I'll send you the measurements. We can do this whenever you have a chance. I'm curious to know if the Bacchus 70 is shorter than the JO2.
You mean in depth,
like top to bottom?
Okay.
Because I'm curious because that has an entire row, but it's also I like kind of tight.
Yeah. So
edges.
there's some measurement madness to this. So when we were doing the original JO1, there was a lot of kind of like prototyping in wood around what's the right amount of forehead to have above the pen rail to actually keep it functional. And we actually measured a load of vintage boards because the J series itself, and I think part of the reason why it works so well with the Wing Keyless is because it was mainly designed around vintage boards. Like both the JO1, the JO1 Rev 1, and the JO2, they're all designed around vintage boards back when you had those Model M's with the pen rails on, and you had kind of like that nice thick bezel around the outside and stuff like that, and the kind of angle and everything. They were all designed with vintage boards in mind, especially the JO1 with the left-hand macro keys. You see the old Zenith data entry boards, they had those macro keys, or Commodore boards. That's where most of the inspiration came from. And every single one of those boards was Win keyless because it came from a time when Windows didn't exist, so there was no need for a Win key. So everything had a blocker there. All the old Cherry keyboards or whatever had a blocker at that point. So I think that's part of the reason why it looks so good. But we actually measured a ton of vintage boards, and we were getting calipers out and working out what's the correct depth of it that should be, and everything else for the actual forehead itself, where the pen's going to sit. And I think we settled on a distance of from the top of the pen rail to the top edge of the board. I think it's 1.25 units, so it's like a keycap and a quarter. So you can nicely fit an artisan along there if you want to use it as a display rail or whatever else. And that just mirrors nicely the actual top row of the keyboard. It just feels like it's a nice extension of that. So when you see that you've got the top row of the keyboard and then the small amount of bezel before the pen rail, that's actually mirrored, and it's the same distance from the pen rail to the top of the board. So it's just little things like that, measuring things and making sure that visually they look right, that we put into the board and put the time in for.
How many people actually use the pin rail? Because I would use the fuck out of that pin rail.
Well, that's the thing, right? I have so many people say, "Oh, if I use the pen rail, I'm going to scratch the brass or whatever." It's like, dude, that's the whole point. It should be used.
Beat up.
Yeah, like the whole thing should be patinaed and nice and
Throwing
used.
pins down.
That's what I want to see. That's what I want to see.
Dude, yeah. Like I use a fountain pen at work, and I would definitely use the shit out of the pin
It's
rail.
what it's made, like it's what it's fucking made for, right? It's like oh, you've got little scratches and dings at the top of your keyboard. Yeah, because it's got a pin rail. No shit.
Yeah,
like
I
would exclusively switch to metal pens just to, just to use it.
Right?
Like
yeah.
it looks cool when it's like I yell this at Eric, even though he agrees with me all the time. I'm like, Jordan 1s look better, beat the shit out of. Like, like I almost want to drive them over with my car. I hate the first 4 times I wear them because they look too nice. I'm like, these shoes look so much better.
Dude, I get it.
Yeah,
completely get it. I'm a big Converse fan. I wear Converse.
Yeah,
every day.
Seeing someone in the wild
better when they're worn in.
Seeing someone in the wild with brand new Chucks, I'm like, you look uncomfortable.
yeah. They don't even look like they should be worn, right? They need to be worn in. They need to be a little bit dirty on that white front bit.
Yeah, but I think that's it's cool because with the obviously that is there are a couple things that I feel like are a signature to the J series boards, and one of them is that pin rail and having it be an accent piece. And I think we've seen other boards have pin rail, and it's just like, oh, it's just a same piece of aluminum anodized in the same color as the board. The way that you chose to do that pin rail in the accent, in the brass, or I believe in the copper, some of the special edition ones, I think it's awesome. And you can do with like what Lang does with different boards of patinaing. If you patina that, it just looks so cool, and it goes back to what we were talking about with the infill of it gives you a way to personalize your board, make it yours.
Yeah. So one of the things we realized on the JO2 is that having that mid accent piece and the pen rail made it really expensive to produce. So that's why we got rid of it for the JO1 Rev 1. But what we always wanted to be able to do on the JO1 Rev 1 was have pen rails that are interchangeable depending on what keycap set you're running. So if you had like a black top and you wanted to use white and black, maybe you could get an E-white pen rail, or you could get a grey pen rail, or if you're using Honeywell, or if then you wanted to spice it up and use Red Samurai, you could get like a red one. So one of the things I want to do in the future is offer different colored pen rails in stock, not huge markups or anything, but for people to be able to mix and match, or to be able to sell blank ones that they can then go and get anodized or cerakoted or spray painted or whatever in any color they'd like.
Yeah, because that wouldn't even be that hard to spray paint.
You could easily spray paint it.
And it would be cool because then if you spray paint and do a really good job on it, and then it slowly chips away, it just adds to that.
So you could even do like multiple layers of coats of paint.
So and then as it chips away, it chips better.
Dude, that'd be so cool. It looked like Fordite. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but there's a material called Fordite, which is, we're going back to cars again now. But in the spray booths for Ford and all of the other auto manufacturers, they used to spray paint the parts, and that would collect on the walls. And over time, you'd have all of these different bands of colors. And it coalesces into like this really hard material. It's almost like a mineral, and you can polish it and put it in as like almost a gemstone in jewelry and stuff. It's called Fordite, and it looks really cool because it looks like a gemstone that's multicolored and multi-layered. But you could do that with a pen rail. That'd be awesome.
Lit. But you'd have to make a special one that like is smaller, just a smidge, just so you
Yeah,
can
so you
add
could
those
get the
extra
yeah,
layers.
you're right. You're right. Yeah.
So it would be it just I love the JO2. I love the jail. I will say it was the jail one. Um I didn't have the Rev one. That thing was a bitch to put together. I think I even messaged you. I was like,
You
"You know what
did, yeah,
I was
I
like, you know
remember.
what? Fuck you.
Yeah. We
I
fixed
that
that.
thing was because if anything, because when I first get a board, especially in the pre-Via days, but if something is not really working, it's like, okay, open it back up. No, the J you have to basically take apart completely and start from scratch almost just to put that thing back together. And I
Sure.
remember I forgot I think I had like a switch that just wasn't firing correctly. And I was like, okay, whatever, I'll take it out. And then you have to like align it all. And then I get it all done. And then like 5 minutes later, I realized my backspace wasn't working properly. I was like, fuck it. I just put it away for like 10 minutes or for like a
I
few
think
couple days.
every streamer that's built one of the original ones, and this is really really cool because there's only 17 of those original JO1s that you've built, Chewy. There's only 17 of those. I have two of them, three of them. I have three of them, which means there's only 14 of them out there. I know Upas, who's in chat, has one, and I know a few other people have one. Mr. Petrov as well in chat has one. There's a few other people as well. Um, as far as I know, none have ever been sold. But the fact that so many streamers have got to build them, because Nathan Kim, Mr. Tehe types of himself, he's built a couple of them. You guys have built one. Mintilly's built one a couple of times. I think
Yeah.
Apiary had one as well. It's just really cool to see so many of the different streamers get hold of that board. Yeah, and every single one of them has messaged me saying they've had a nightmare putting it together. So we fixed that. Gaskets are all now self-adhesive, so once they're in, they're in. You don't have to worry about them anymore.
Yeah.
That's
Well, and
good.
that's the other thing is like alongside of the pin rail, the two other things that come to mind when I see a JO2 or a JO1 or just any board, I know it's gonna have gaskets. It's gonna be that full like isolation mount, and then a carbon fiber plate.
Yeah,
What's the
got some
I feel like carbon fiber is a material that's not thrown around as often as it probably should be. So what led you to want to use carbon fiber as much as you have?
So initially sound. So the one thing, and Chu, you'll be able to agree with this from your building one. One of the unusual things about the J series is that we don't try and get the inside of the bottom case as close to the bottom of the PCB as we can. Most keyboards try and do that and eliminate sound under there. But what we try to do with design for all of the J series is actually increase the space in a certain way to improve the sound. They give the sound room to percolate and room to kind of like grow and develop inside the chamber. It's almost like you think like a violin or a guitar. They've got like areas inside that allows them to allows the sound to percolate around. And that was the idea behind the J series. And once we'd got that kind of idea down, the second part was then what materials are going to sound good with that. And we tried everything. We tried aluminium, tried brass, tried copper, we tried so many different materials. And the one material that stood out, and this was actually Max's cable car designs, the guy behind the Prophet. It was actually Max. He produced some carbon fiber plates, and he sent me some samples of it, and he had one cut for me for the original J1 prototype, and it just all clicked. Everything just clicked together. That was the material that worked really really well. And from then on, we just developed it and made some slight tweaks to the design of the plate, tweaked the depth of the acoustic cavity inside the J series boards, and yeah, that was why it was all developed around the sound profile.
Yeah, it's well, son, real quick. I don't know how to say that.
Dewey.
Dewey. Okay.
Zui.
Well,
Zui.
Dewey.
Zui.
Dewey.
Zui.
It's
Zui.
Dewey.
Zui.
It's Zui.
Let me change over to this one. There, come eat it on camera.
There you go. Treating the puppers.
Oh, bless.
I already gave Anubis his. He's back in his bed and he's like, "You woke me up for that. Thanks, but I'm gonna go back to sleep."
Now I'm gonna go to sleep. Nice, but no. What's kind of cool because I messaged you about it, and then I talked to Apiary for a long time because it is not, especially the first one. I haven't built the second one, but I've heard, obviously I've heard it is significantly easier. But of those first original builds, it's almost like it felt kind of like a rite of passage. It was like, I have to get this. Like, if I can do this, then I can submit my, I can submit my ballot of, okay, well, now I can be allowed into the people that know how to build a JO1 club. Like, and it was definitely, I talked to Eric for a long time and asked his opinions on stuff. And I talked to Apiary for a while, and I even talked to you and for quite a bit just to make sure. Because if I was building it, what sucks, I would have been able to knock it out like that if I wasn't building it on stream. But as all three of us know, Murphy's Law in streaming keyboard builds is the real deal. Shit always goes, if it can go wrong, it will. So that was probably the only build stream I was nervous for ever. And I remember telling Eric, I was like, I've never been nervous to build. And you had just built
Kepler,
the Kepler, and
which is a
because when we had
similar
talked,
gasket.
similar gasket,
Yeah,
similar
similar
concept, where it's like you and I were both like, we got to do research on how to build these, because you don't, the last thing you want to do is look like an idiot. And I mean, I know most people are happy to help during the stream and you won't get judged too much, but you still want to, as for personal reasons, you want to go, I want to know, and I want to do this correctly.
Well,
and do
it's
it.
also like it was a special occasion in a sense, because like there is only 14 JO1 just like out in the wild, the Kepler for me was like, that's one of the most expensive, if not the most expensive board from a retail standpoint that I had built. I built some TGR stuff that's more expensive on the aftermarket, and I've built some other stuff, but it is like, it's a special occasion. And yeah, the JO1 was an awesome, I know it was a rough build for you.
It was
but
a rough build,
awesome
but
board.
it was really fun to type on. It sounded great. I think it was black inks, so it was gonna sound
Nice.
good regardless. I didn't use it as much. That board is huge. That board is massive.
big.
It
It's
is a
bigger than people think.
massive fucking board, and
It's
it looks
slightly wider than
smaller
TPM.
because of the layout. But
Yeah,
it
it's
is
slightly wider than
one of the biggest boards outside of maybe the Austin, which is a full-sized board. But even the Austin is not as tall. And it's tough to use on the desk. Like, it was like, because I'll turn my keyboard when I'm gaming, not like to the extent that Eric does, but I'll give it a quick tilt just for some ergonomic help. And that it's like, okay, well, first I have to stand up and like lift with my legs on this thing.
Yeah, bend at the knees. Yeah.
Bend at the knees. But on top of that, it takes up. It takes up. I was like, maybe this is probably not the. It's like, because I remember thinking about going for the Rev 1, and then I was like, no, it's too big.
So
It's
what you
just
should
too
do,
big.
what you need is you need a JO1 for productivity, because that's what it was designed around as well. It's
Yeah.
designed around productivity, like those old Zenith data entry boards, which is where the layout broadly came from. It's designed for for data entry, productivity, that kind of stuff. And then you need a JO2 for gaming, right? 60% is perfect for gaming.
Yeah,
So
it's
that's what you need
amazing.
to do. Just buy both, right?
That's what I like. The one board I kind of wish I had back is the Austin. But
Yeah,
I
it's a
just
good
did.
board.
I don't. It was a great board. I just wasn't using it that much. But that was like the productivity board, because it was like, okay, it's compact enough because it's missing a lot of it's missing the nav cluster, but it has everything that I use. I don't use home and end.
Sure.
So it's just not something I've ever really used. Although it did have Eric's favorite key, the print screen.
Nice.
Why?
But
I still use print screen on every 65% I build, top right corner. Unless
that's
it's like a
interesting.
910 with a blocker. Yeah, I always have it as print screen. I don't know why, because I never use print screen. Like,
I'm like, I think we had a discussion on stream where I was like, seriously, what would be the use of that key? Like, what is the specific need for that key to exist? And I'm like, it may be one of those things that it's just like, it's always been there, it was used to be used a ton and now it's not. Um,
I think in the days before, like snipping tools, I think
Yeah.
it would have
Yeah.
been properly used then. Yeah, I don't. I like there's no modern use case for it as far as I can
Yeah,
tell. Like caps
because
lock. Caps lock is a redundant key these days in my head.
I don't even use caps lock's on my second layer now because I just don't
Yeah,
use
like
it. But
it's control on every single board I use is
yeah,
caps lock.
mine is that's my modifier key. That's my
Your
my
function.
macro key or function.
Sure.
But even like on a TKL, those top three keys, that's media for me. That's next, previous, and play. Like I
Sure.
don't, there's at no point do I ever need those keys. And like TKL does have extra keys that I'm like, I literally don't need these.
So there's something else that we haven't really gotten into that has been the baby of last year and into this year, and that's Prototypist. You started up your vendor. I think it was it the
Yeah.
tail end of 2019 into 2020, or was it?
Yeah, we officially the company registration papers came back on the 1st of November 2019, which was actually a long while since it started because originally it started around February of 2019 before I came out to Seattle for the Seattle meetup in 2019. All the paperwork had been done, and in fact, I actually met with Upas to have a little bit of a chat about vendoring while we were in Seattle as well. So all of the paperwork had kind of been done. But then, due to some personal stuff, my mum passed away, and then the Seattle trip, and all sorts of other things, it never actually got finished until November. So, officially on the 1st of November 2019, that's when Prototypist was incorporated as a proper company, and that's when we started up. Yeah.
And what's it like moving from a enthusiast and content creator into being a I guess at this point somewhat full-time vendor?
Yeah, I mean, we're full time. It's been full time since week 3 or something like that, in terms of the amount of hours I have to put into it. And it's not slowing down. Like the hobby's just gone so nuts over the past year that everything just seems to do better than everything that came before it. Um, it's been interesting. It's been a real ride. So when Prototypist first started in 2019, I had a day job. I used to be a senior program manager, stroke product owner for a large financial institution here in the UK. Read that as a bank. I now no longer do that. I now officially on paper, as far as the UK government is concerned, I am retired and I'm a volunteer managing director of Prototypist because I don't get paid for this. I don't pay myself a salary. I don't take any money out of the business or anything like that. So officially now, legally, I am technically a retired but volunteer managing director of Prototypist Keyboards. Yeah.
I'm just
So
gonna start calling you Geezer from now on.
Geezer, yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
You're just some old
Yeah.
retired dude just hanging out.
Yeah.
Doing it for the love of the
Um,
hobby.
Yeah, like, I mean that's the thing, right? It is for the love of the hobby. I'm lucky enough to be in a position in life where I don't need to rely on Prototypist for an income. So yeah, I'm not a pensioner, Nick. I'm not a pensioner. I'm not 65 yet. Interestingly enough, my pension company, when I left the bank that I worked for, my pension company did write to me and say, "You are aware that you can't have your pension until you're 65, right?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm aware. Don't worry, it's okay." We had that whole conversation. It was quite fun. But the whole thing's grown massively, and it was supposed to be something I did on the side, right? It was supposed to be a small area in my garage that I could manage a few of my projects for. Like the JO1 was always going to come after the JO2. I know it's backwards, but just the way things worked. There was other little bits of projects that I wanted to do, and then people started asking, would I sell certain key sets and certain products, desk mats, and other bits and pieces, and I said yes to a few of those. And right around February of 2020, just before COVID hit, the first real shipment of any product turned up, and it was a series of desk mats, and they all came and they sat in the garage, and I didn't really realize how much space 100 desk mats turned fit in. I didn't realize how much space that would take up. Like I knew in my head what 100 desk mats was, and I had like 10 or 15 of my own, but I didn't appreciate how big that would be. And right from there, it was like, right, I need more space, because at that point I knew that I'd got other orders that were 3 times that size and other products coming in that were way bigger than that, were going to take up more space. And that's where I am now. I'm in the Prototypist headquarters here, which is our warehouse. So behind the wall behind me is the whole warehouse. We've got 2,200 square feet, and the office space here is 500 square feet. I'm just sat in the back corner of it. And that's already full. A year and a few months later, it's already full. Like I'm already looking at, do I need to put a second floor in here? Do I need to rent a bigger space? Do I need to do something differently? Because it just grew and grew and grew and grew. And I was not expecting the pace of the growth. It kind of took me by surprise. And the easy part's done. All of the group buys have run, and now we're all waiting for the manufacturing of them and the delivery of them. The hard work is yet to come, all of the packaging and delivering of those orders. But yeah, it's really exciting, and it's a huge change. And yeah, like I wasn't expecting it at all. I was thinking I'd just do 2 or 3 small product runs a year. It'd be based in my garage. I wouldn't have to leave the day job. I wouldn't have to devote more time to it. And now I'm here 70 hours a week, just making keyboard stuff.
Because wasn't it
And I love it.
wasn't it like at first you're like, oh, well, I'll run a couple things just to help things go along, but I want to also help with like helping people get prototypes of stuff that they want to do and stuff, and then it was just like hit the
Yeah.
ground running.
Yeah, and that's one of the cool things, because I don't take any of the money out of Prototype. Is one of the cool things it allows us to do is help people who don't have the means or the know-how to get their prototypes made, right? They've come up with an idea, they've got a design for the board, or they've got something and they want to create it, but they don't have that knowledge, they don't have that means, and they don't have, some guys are in college, they don't have the cash to spend $1,000 on a prototype or whatever. So I know a couple of them won't mind me speaking, but Nerdy, who did the Anubis, we've paid for a couple of prototypes of that. No strings attached. This isn't anything attached to it. Bragoli, we've done a 40% called the Whiskey. We've paid for the production of that. There's another guy called Aeneos, and we've done a couple of boards with him. That's called the Mugen. It gives us the opportunity to help people make things. Either it be a one-off for them, or something they might want to take to group buy later, or something they want to check out. Help them produce something, and it's cool to take people on that journey. It's really cool.
Prototypes are fucking expensive.
They can be
Prototypes
super
are
expensive.
like just to get the Baka 70 with a couple PCBs, with designs and all of that stuff. I mean, I've probably spent close to 1,500 for one board.
For sure. Yeah.
And my hope is to make that back. But if you're ever getting mad at someone who's like, oh, I hate that I hate that the designer makes money off of this keyboard. The money that they're putting into it, especially if you want to do something especially if you want to try something different, it's you're starting at a huge loss. Who cares if they make 10 grand from a group buy? Cool. They probably only made half of that. And then on top of that, they're probably putting a lot of that money into future projects, because that's what I've done. Every project I've run, that just funnels into the next thing. So
Yeah, profit's a weird one. Like as I said before, I'm lucky enough to be in a position in life where I don't need to take a salary or any money out of Prototype is for me to live. And I appreciate I'm in a very privileged position, and not everyone would be in that case. Most vendors do it for a living. They need money to survive. Designers are the same. Designers design stuff because they love to create things, and at the same time, if they're doing that and they're investing their time and they're investing their money in prototypes, as you say, making you can sell 200 boards and make 10 grand profit, but you've probably spent 1,500 to 2 grand of that on prototypes, which leaves 8 grand profit. You've probably put in something like 500 to 1,000 hours of your time, which when you work it out, what are you making? Half of minimum wage?
yeah,
It's not like people are making tons of money out of this. No one's getting to be a millionaire from making and designing keyboard stuff, or making and designing one keyboard stuff. One keyboard thing. Maybe over the whole course of a career they could do, but they're not going to make stupid amounts of money. It's not even enough for most designers to give up their day jobs and live off of. There's very few privileged designers who are able to do that.
yeah. That's Eric and I've talked about this for a long time, where it's like, it would be great if Mechs on Deck was our full-time gig. Like, it would be fun, and I know we would come up with a lot of cool things. But it's almost better being that secondary source. We don't sit there and go, "Oh, I want to buy this thing that has nothing to do with keyboards or streaming." Like we don't touch the money unless it was originally going to be basically used for all travel uh, to go to meetups, but that didn't turn out
Yeah.
the same way. But you know, when we first started Max on Deck, it was like, let's do something that kind of just funds the hobby. Let's
Yeah.
let's fund the hobby with this, and it's successful, especially now that we can't travel. You know, it's been a lot. It's been nice to go. Okay, well, cool. Now my personal paycheck isn't going towards keyboards. Now I can afford some of these cooler things that don't hurt anything. And I think that's how a lot of people, especially in this hobby, like, you know, I used some profits to buy the bumper because Zap Cables bought both an original Baca and the Squid 60. And I was like, well, cool. I'm just going to take money that you basically gave me and just send it right back to you because
Yeah,
I want
right.
to, you know, I want to funnel money back into the system. It's better that way if, you know, you kind
For
of
sure.
use hobbies and use things. Um, if you're able to go full time and, you know, live your life off of this hobby, that's awesome. Like, props to you. And but then it, you know, it also becomes, it's like it could potentially become too much of a job. And that's, I guess that's the next question I'll ask you is, you know, I am sure that there's a part of you that's like, "Oh, you know, keyboards again." Like, you know, it's at some point I'm sure you're like, I just want to get away from keyboards for 5 minutes.
Yeah, yeah, like that does happen sometimes. And I think I think it does go back to the previous question, and a lot of it is about what's the reward for doing it. You know, is it financial gain, or is it being able to, you know, make some cool stuff or see some cool stuff? And I think that's where my reward for this hobby comes from is being able to see a load of cool stuff sometimes before other people even know it's a thing, you know, or to make something really cool. You know, I've been privileged enough to be able to buy tools like the laser cut, so I can just create like a prototype plate within 20 minutes. I can just go out there and
Mhm.
make it out of whatever material I want, or some keyboard stands or whatever. And I've done a few streams on designing stuff like that in CAD and making it there and live, and that's kind of the reward that I take out of it. But yeah, there are my purchasing of keyboard stuff has dropped a lot. Like, you guys know, I'm a serious collector. I have a lot of keyboards in my collection. And finally someone came and did inventory on that, so I know exactly how many custom keyboards I have now. Um, yeah,
Will you say it? Say the number. Say the
uh,
number.
214. And that's
Good
in
Lord.
in the
That
warehouse.
is
That's
over 20 times as much. Thank you. I now have an argument with my wife when I say, I'm going to buy another keyboard. And she goes, you already have 10. I was like, well, Jay has 214.
Oh right, yeah, yeah. Once I saw that number, I was depressed for about a week, and it's like, oh no.
Every
Anyway,
husband now has ammunition.
yeah. Anyway, so I have all those keyboards, and I'm genuinely really lucky to have them. And some of them have come about through being acquainted with people or whatever, and that's great. Um, but it's not sustainable. And since Prototypist really took off, and especially since I've left the day job, I haven't bought as many boards. Like, at one point, I was buying 2 or 3 keyboards a month, every month, guaranteed. And I think I've bought 4 this year. Like, group buys that I've joined. I think I've joined personally 4 group buys this year. And I think I've bought 2 boards on the aftermarket, and that's it. And that would be some months last year that could have been just a month's purchasing, right? And it really has slowed down. And quite often I'll come into the workshop and a new board will arrive or whatever else. And unless it's something I've worked on, it's a prototype, I don't always get that elated feeling of, oh, this is something cool to open up. Let's open it up. Let's have a look at it again. You know, sometimes I just get it and then I go, oh, that's great. And I'll put it to one side and it doesn't get opened for a month. It happens more with key sets these days than it does with keyboards, but I think that's just because I'm becoming indentured and kind of a little bit, what's the word? I don't know, like a little bit overpowered with just the sheer volume of stuff that I get to see. And
You're
I know people,
oversaturated. Like,
yeah, oversaturated. That's the word. That's exactly the word I was looking for. Thank you.
yeah.
And I know a lot of people think that it'd be great to be in that position to see all this cool stuff, and it is. But some days, it's just another job, right? It's just going to the job. Um, yeah.
Yeah, I
Like
mean,
It
I
just
get to. I get to. We talked a while back about it's almost when you get the same board, when you're building the same board or a very similar board over and over and over. If I have to build one more goddamn Bacchus 60, but if you're when you're getting these boards, the excitement, I don't know. I think the most excited I've ever been for a keyboard was the first time I opened up the Bacchus 60.
Sure, yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
get
got all
that.
that, and that has a lot of personal. I think the second most exciting time for me was the TX60, because that was like the first like non KBD fans keyboard, and like opened. I was like, this. Like I remember taking a moment and like just really experiencing it. And sadly, it's kind of it. I'm never gonna get back the first keyboard I ever had designed. Like that feeling's never gonna come back to me. But like there are definitely times I find myself where I'm like, I need to be more like appreciative of the position that we're all in, where it's like I get to
Yeah.
see a lot of cool shit come through. And but with the oversaturation, it's like when you see this, the same, when you see it, when boards are kind of similar, like it's like, yeah, this is another keyboard. It's another keyboard. It's another keyboard. It's another project I have to work on.
It
like
makes
that's yeah.
it makes you feel bad because sometimes you're like someone's super stoked about something and you're just like, yeah, okay. You kind of like blow it off a little bit, but then it's like when you take a step back, you're like, man, that sucks because I was like that person was really stoked about this group buy or this board that they just got, and I was like not stoked at all. Like I was just like, oh it's just another one of these, and it's like, man, I maybe ruined a moment for someone, I maybe ruined a board for them. And I know that's something that I have to not do sometimes when I see like I'm like when a board fits into a box of a criteria that I'm like, okay, I've seen this a million times, you know, that's someone's hard work, that's someone's
Yeah.
livelihood that they've put into that, the effort and
Yeah.
time. It's hard not
And
to.
it's almost like a feeling of complacency in some
Yeah.
ways. Like you just get complacent with it. But what I want to say is it's not specific boards. It's just a frame of mind for me.
Yeah.
Like I can get a delivery on Monday, and I think, oh, I know what it is. It's this board. I really don't want to open it. I can't be bothered, and I'll put it to one side. And then Friday will come round, and I'll go, oh shit, I didn't open that board, and then that excitement's back. And it's not. It's a different product. It's just the frame of mind that I'm in based on what I know I have to do
Yeah.
on any given day. I think I don't think it's necessarily the product. It's more just my frame of mind and the way I'm feeling on any particular day. We all have ups and downs, and we all have
Yeah.
good days and bad days. I think on a bad day, I can have that complacency, and it doesn't matter what's coming through the door. It could be my latest prototype. It could be my best friend's latest prototype. It could be a board I've been waiting for 6 months. It could be a board I've seen 1,000 times before. And sometimes I'll just feel like I don't want to even entertain looking at it. And other times, it could be that same package that's been sat there for a couple of days, and that excitement all of a sudden inexplicably just returns, and then I'm super psyched to open it up. I'll start doing little. I don't know if you guys have seen my Insta, but I pretty much
Absolutely.
prototype is really an open. It's an open book. So like I show everything we do, or nearly everything. I don't show anything like taxes and paperwork because no one wants to see that, and that would be illegal. But I show pretty much everything in terms of what we're doing, what we're packaging, what we're making on any given day. And I like to be as open as possible. And that's when you'll see I'll just suddenly do like a spate of unboxings, and there'll be like 8 unboxings in a row and like 30 minutes of Insta videos because that excitement has just suddenly clicked and come back for me.
The Insta stories have been like really cool to see because it really does show, how much Prototypist has grown. Because when you first started and you first got in, I remember the first couple videos where you just got the 3D printer and you're just getting it set up and you're printing some things.
Yeah.
That you're getting the shelves set up and they were empty, and then now I look at it and you've got like tons of keycap sets, you got boards, you've got, I think, didn't you just recently get another 3D printer? Like you got
Yeah, we have 4 3D printers
4
now.
yeah.
One is decommissioned and won't ever get used again. That was my original one, which was an Ender 3. Then we've got two Prusa Mark 3s, which are running pretty much 24/7 all the time. And then I recently got in a new one because I give away, whenever I sell switches, I give away like 3D printed switch openers and
Right.
stem tweezers and stuff like that. So I constantly have to print new ones for as orders come in. But I bought this new 3D printer, which is from Creality. It actually prints onto a conveyor belt. So the idea is I can print off a stem holder, and then the conveyor belt will roll around, it'll drop off into a bin, and then it'll print the next one, and so on and so forth. It turns it into a production line. I haven't set that up yet. I just haven't found the time to put that together. I want to
No.
stream putting that together as well. So yeah, that's some fun content coming soon.
Yeah,
But-
Jay giving jobs to robots.
I'm interested to hear, because I know it seemed like the UK was kind of left off before Prototypist. There wasn't necessarily as much. There wasn't necessarily a vendor that was specifically catering to your market. Obviously, you could go from EU vendors, but now Prototype is doing a lot for the UK. How has that? Have you seen that impact the UK hobby? Has that been growing? Has that been booming? And have you seen that in Prototypist, or could it be
Yeah.
because of Prototypist?
Okay, so there's probably a few things to unpack there. First of all, we've always had some really good vendors in the UK. Mechboards was the first
Right.
UK company that I ever bought from, and then Optic Boards as well. I used to get all my switches through Optic Boards. There's always been like a subset of really good, solid UK vendors, and they've been around for 4 or 5 years now. And we actually have, I think at last count, I think we actually have 24 UK vendors now, which is actually more than some other bigger areas. Like, considering that the entire UK keyboard population is probably like the size of one state's keyboard population in the US. It's kind of amazing that we've got so many vendors.
That's impressive. I don't even know. I couldn't name 24 American vendors.
Yeah, I don't. I think it's 24
I could barely name 10.
They're out there, man. I mean, the US has more vendors when you look at it, because you guys have got a lot of small niche vendors that kind of do specific things. I think with the other two things to unpack are what's happened with Brexit and what's happened with COVID. I think the whole hobby grew exponentially everywhere with COVID. The UK was no exception. We definitely increased a lot of members. Like, we have UK specific Discords, and they all grew massively over the course of 2020 compared to what they had been comparatively growing in 2019 and earlier. And that was just because of a few things. Like, people were working from home, COVID was a thing, people looking for new hobbies, people wanted a new typing experience because they were at home not using office equipment and all of those kind of things. I know you guys have talked about the impact of COVID before on the hobby. In terms of Brexit, I think that's had both positive and negative things. It's not necessarily Brexit itself, but it was a rule that was originally. This is really complex, actually. I'll try and break it down as simple as I can. There was originally a rule that was going to come in for the whole of the European Union, which included the UK, which was that if you bought something from a vendor outside of Europe, that vendor would have to charge you the local European taxes, and they would have to pay it to the European government every month. So if I bought from Novel Keys would have to register with the European tax agencies. They would have to collect that tax, and they would have to pay it every quarter, which is really complex when you think about it. And no other trading zone in the world does this. But because of Brexit, the European Union decided to delay that process, and they didn't implement it. They are implementing it on the 1st of July, so just about a month away from now. But the UK decided to do it on the day that Brexit happened. We decided that we were going to take that last EU piece of legislation and put it into play from the 1st of January. So not only did Brexit happen, but at the same time, all of the worldwide vendors just suddenly couldn't ship to the UK anymore. They were just like, no, unless you spend over this threshold amount, which was like $150, you can't have your product shipped to the UK. So you can't now buy a desk mat from Omnitype and have it shipped to the UK. You can't now buy, some smaller items from vendors in Australia, for example, like Rama, and have it shipped to the UK. You can't now buy from some of the EU vendors and have it shipped to the UK, because they're all trying to either register for that tax proposal in the UK, or it's not enough for them to worry about.
Yeah.
And because it became such a headache, I think that opened up the doors a bit of an opportunity for all of the UK vendors. And I know that Mechboard's got in on some great products.
Right.
to be able to offer them for worldwide vendors. I did the same, and some of the other Protozoa studios, and there's quite a few others. And we just it enabled us to kind of create like a separate area that needed a vendor for a specific thing. Like the whole of the EU is a fairly big market. It's not as big as the US market, but it's fairly big. But the UK on its own now, because of the way that COVID impacted, is big enough to stand alone. It's big enough to need a UK vendor to be able to support those customers. So that was a really, really long way of saying yes.
But it's awesome to see because I think we're also starting to see that a little bit with Canada as well. We started to see
Yeah.
more group buys have Canadian vendors, and I think it's awesome because there's a lot of people who've had to spend considerable amounts more money for the same products that we get for $100. They're spending 125, $130, and obviously, yeah, it goes towards the government and the litigation stuff like that, and yeah, that's cool and all, but it's like that's $25 that could be spent, helping, that person get switches or buy another, you know, set of keycaps
Exactly.
that pours more
Yeah.
money into the hobby.
And we're seeing it with loads of smaller vendors as well. Like we've now got Fun Keys, Swag Keys in Korea, and all these kind of small areas that are that are coming up, and they're not doing massive numbers, in terms of sales or anything like that, but they're there to support their little communities. And it gives buyers confidence if they know that there's someone that's relatively local that they can go to if they have a problem with something that they've bought. It's much easier than going across the world to Novel Keys or whatever else. I mean, Novel Keys support's amazing. I don't want to knock that. That's not what I'm saying. But it's much easier as a UK customer to speak to someone in the UK than it is to speak to someone in America or Australia or wherever the vendor might be based. And yeah, I think that goes for any country. I think it's starting to see. I mean, we've even got Mexico as a vendor, has a vendor now, and Chile has a vendor now. All of these countries that we didn't have before. It's great to see that we're growing into those areas and we're starting to build up. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's exciting times. It's exciting
Because
times.
I remember when we first had you on, I think one of the things we even talked about was like, I think it actually might have been when we had Brian on. We talked about how there needed to be more like equivalents to what KBD fans was offering in 2017, 2018, and even into 2019. What they were offering, that whole product line, that whole, uh,
Top to bottom.
top to bottom. Yeah, exactly. And now with all these different vendors, you're able to get that, and it's all right at home, which is really cool
Yeah,
to see.
Hmm. So,
absolutely.
and it's so strange, like watching things change, right? Because when we first started, prototypist wasn't even really probably even a thought at that point. And just watching this hobby evolve has just been crazy. But Top Clock has evolved as well. You guys have been doing a lot of different stuff.
Yeah,
And you've changed the time so that you're not, staying up until 4 in the morning. And I know
I think Brian
it,
felt sorry for me.
but you guys have really changed it up. And I know Eric and Brian are like, two peas in a pod skipping through the forest. But we've talked about um, with us of like doing what you want to do, not what you feel like you have to do. And I feel like Top Clock's definitely followed that path. So how's the changes been? And can you talk
Um,
about those changes too?
yeah, I can talk about them. Yeah, the changes have been good. If we start with the time one, I think Brian genuinely just felt sorry for me getting up at a silly o'clock, like you guys have made me get up this week, to stream. No, I'm kidding. Like, it was getting harder and harder to do because, and especially because Prototypist was kicking off, and I had a day job at the same time, and then I was streaming and getting no sleep every Thursday night. It became a lot, and I never mentioned it to Brian. He just said, "Hey, let's try doing Top Clock at a new time." And we did, and viewership stayed the same and increased actually in certain areas. Like we got more EU viewers, but the US viewers still stayed the same. so it worked out well for us. It was good, and I'm much more productive now for those streams. I'm still rarely on time. I still make Brian wait a little bit too long sometimes at the back end, but yeah, it's much better. So the timing's worked out really really well, especially for me. I hope it has for Brian as well. He's never told me it hasn't, but I think he was feeling a little bit sorry for me. In terms of the doing what we wanted to do, I think there was a few things that we realized over the course of 2020. And the first one is that doing the news show that we used to do, which is what we were probably most known for, was a lot of work. We were both putting in, 15, 20 hours a week just into creating a list of stuff to talk about and putting some bullet points on a piece of paper. Like collating that information, getting ready to talk about it every Thursday was a lot of work. And as lockdowns increased around the world, so did the number of interest checks. And we used to joke about it on the show, but until we actually sat down and talked about it together, we didn't realize how depressing it was. Here's another GMK set, and here's another GMK set. Oh no, this one's cat, but guess what's next? It's another GMK set. We didn't realize how much that was just depressing us, just talking about the news each week and not being able to talk about the things that we wanted to talk about. It was always a case of, this is a new TKL and this is a new key set and this is another new TKL and this is another new key set, and it just felt like we were very much stuck in a rut and not able to be creative, not able to talk about the things that interested us. We were just there for one purpose, and everyone, we had this impression that the community at large felt that we had to do the news and we should do the news. So we sat down and talked about it, and we both agreed that doing the news wasn't something we enjoyed doing anymore. There was too much, and we talked about, do we do a curated news list where we just pick 3 or 4 topics each week? And we actually did that once or twice. We actually purposefully left out a few interest checks and group buys and didn't talk about them. And that generated complaints. Designers and vendors alike messages and said, hey, you didn't talk about my product. You didn't talk about this, and you didn't talk about that, or you skipped over us really quickly. And we didn't want to feel like we were letting people down or doing a half-hearted job. So we decided to put the news behind us and just do streams about what interested us. So we had a bit of a break for about 4 weeks, didn't stream at all, kind of went back to the drawing board, took some time for ourselves. And then we came up with this whole new format that we do now, which is where we settle on a topic, on a subject, a little bit like you guys do. You guys were a huge inspiration to us for this, actually.
That's a
we
really
didn't talk about it.
That's a really weird thing to hear.
No, like you guys were the ones
It's
that
really
inspired us
weird
to
because we
change.
took a lot of inspiration from what we're literally doing right now, which is interview streams.
Yeah,
And going, I mean, I don't want to say stolen, but literally we're like, well, Talk Black's not doing it anymore, so let's do it. Let's bring it back.
sure.
And it's weird, like the back and
Yeah.
forth.
But no, we saw how much you guys enjoy doing what you're doing, and how much your audience enjoy doing what you do. So we wanted to do something similar. We wanted to bring the enjoyment back. We wanted to enjoy streaming again. So we had to cut out all of that negativity, and we had a lot of people say, "Oh, where's the news gone? Why aren't you doing the news? You guys should be doing the news. You owe it to the community to do the news." And it was we had to take a real step back and actually think what's right for us to do. And we realized it wasn't making us happy, so we just cut it and got rid of it and decided to do our own stuff, which is all the fun things that we talk about now. A lot of mental health stuff is really important to both of us. And I think it was important to a lot of people over lockdowns and over 2020. And yeah, just talk about the fun things. Why do we have to do the news? And so many other people have now stepped in and pick up and do news chats. Alex Otos does one with Apiary, and I see Macmillan talking about the news every now and again, and Man of Interest does his weekly roundups, and they don't need to come to Talk Black for that anymore.
The thing that made Top Clack to me the best was when the news was there, but you could dive deep into it. And I felt like Top Clack wasn't Top Clack anymore because you couldn't dive deep into it. You couldn't really dissect an interest check or a group buy because you didn't have time, because you had 25 other things you had to talk about. And you didn't want to have a 5-hour show.
Yeah, exactly. We always tried to keep the shows to under 2 hours. That was always our aim. Ideally 90 minutes, maybe 2 hours. And every single week we failed, and it was always a 3 hour stream. Like without fail, it was 3 hours, sometimes even up to 4 hours, just because of the sheer volume of stuff. But when I first joined Top Clack, we had like 8 topics a week, and we could spend half an hour. We could pick two that we wanted to focus on, and we could spend half an hour on each of them and fit the other ones into 10-minute slots each, and it worked great. And then all of a sudden, as you say, you've got 20 GMK interest checks in a week. And what? How do you talk about that?
Yeah.
Oh, it's an interest check, but the colors, instead of being blue and white, it's now red and green. And it's like, well,
Yeah.
how do you generate conversation at that point?
That's what people.
And that's
are
why
like, oh, go
It's
ahead.
difficult.
like I remember when it started happening, when it started, like I remember the ramp up, because it was not, it wasn't super far after Mechs on Deck started, was when things started increasing, where you guys were, you could tell that the work, it wasn't unbearable yet, but the workload was there. And then it just became unbearable. And that's where, like, I'll props to Huey for doing the kind of rapid fire, like, here's your news. And I remember, seeing there, and this is absolutely nothing against you guys at Top Clack, but I was like, I don't want to sit here for 3 hours for them to say 5 minutes about something I'm interested in, because I don't want to sit through the other 28 things that I can look up. And it
Sure.
I don't, sorry if that's offensive, but it's one of
No,
those.
I get it.
It became one of those things where I was like, I have to like scroll through to see what they're talking about. And to the people that say, like, then, obviously you guys know this, but streamers don't owe anyone anything. So the fact that people had the audacity to come in and say you owe it to do the news, I'm like, no, they fucking don't. They could quit right now and turn off their discords, and you would never hear from them again, and they'd be, and you guys would just be fucked. Like, they're doing a service, it's not the consumer's right to it. But I've definitely enjoyed your current streams. I usually have to catch the VODs due to timing, but because it just feels more, it feels like your personality's there. A big critique from a few different people when we started doing interviews, our personalities weren't in it. We were just asking questions and letting people talk. And I feel like I am sitting there enjoying instead of being read at. And I don't think there's a way that you can, unless you're doing a YouTube video where you are rapidly going through just essentially just reading, because two people doing a news section is tough. I have watched Apiary and Otis do it. They do a good job, but it takes a long time. It still takes a long time. And when we're in the age of, I want my news and I want it in 3 minutes, that's what you get. So I'm, super proud of you guys for changing it up and just kind of saying fuck it. And one thing I do love is there was kind of this respect for Top Clack of like, no one do news because that's Top Clack. And like, even us, we were like, we can't do news. We can't do group buy reviews because that's Top Clack's thing. We don't want to cut out,
literally conversations we had when we first started.
We're like, we're not cutting into we're not touching Thursday nights, and we're not doing news. We have to. It was one of those, like, it was out of respect, but also like, don't do this. Like, we're two dudes doing a show. The first thing we're going to immediately get, it does not matter what we even talk about, we're going to get compared to Top Clack, and it's going to be a competition. And so it's, I love the fact though that now there's like 20 people that do it. And now you can get different people's perspectives if you just kind of bounce around.
Sure. I think if other people had done the news, Brian and I might have made the jump away from it a lot faster. I think it may have made us realize that we didn't have to do it, because there was a good period for about maybe 4 or 5 months where we were doing it purely because we felt like we had to. I don't think we ever really verbalized that to each other until afterwards, but we both felt like that at the same time. I remember the conversation. We both felt like that. I think if we'd have had that, I think the competition is the wrong word, because streaming's not really competitive. It's like all good fun, but I think if other people had competing streams where they were doing some sort of new segment, it may have helped us move away from that faster. Like, I don't know, maybe it wouldn't. Brian, tell me what you think. I know you're in chat. Tell me what you think, because I think it might have made us move away from
I
it
think
faster.
what it could have done is helped you guys go, okay, well, we don't have to cover everything.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's
We might
cover-
have been able to
yeah.
just go back to these are the 4 or 5 topics that we really want to talk about today,
Yeah,
this week, whatever, because we've got these thoughts on them. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's been a huge change for y'all. I know I had multiple like very long conversations with Ryan about it and about like the direction and you know, I even told him multiple times like, dude, just screw what everyone else thinks. You started streaming and you make content because y'all want to make content. Make the content that you enjoy. The things that enjoy that make you enjoy hitting the start streaming button. There's nothing worse than going into a night, you get home from whether it's from work or from anything that you've done and you're like, I got to stream tonight.
Yep.
You know, you like there are times where you are like, I don't really want to do it, but then the stream saves it because it is something that you enjoy doing. But then when you have a bad day and you already don't want to stream, and then you're doing something that you're just like, dude, I don't want to talk about a 30th GMK set or like the 15th 65%. You know, like it just makes it that much worse. So it's yeah, props to y'all for taking the like full 180 shift and just like saying, fuck it, we're just gonna do what we want to do, because it is hard. It's so
Yeah.
hard to do.
It was really difficult decision to make, and I think separately Brian and I had been feeling this way, and I think both of us were a little bit scared to broach it with the other one because that was so ingrained into Topclack's identity. I think we were both terrified that if we even suggested about moving away from that kind of standardized script almost that we were reading from, that the other one might be a little bit upset by that. And eventually, when we did have that conversation, it was a huge, huge relief. Brian actually mentioned it to me first, and he was like, I can't remember the exact words, but it was like, dude, I don't want to do the news anymore. And I was like, oh, thank God you've said it. Like, thank you so much for saying that. It means I don't have to do it anymore. Like, it was like a huge moment of relief. Like, I can't remember the exact words, but that was the gist of the conversation. I almost like broke down in happiness. I was like weight lifted off my shoulders. Like, I'm not alone. Like, we both feel like this. It was good. It was good. And it's better now. It's better. Like, sure, we don't always get the viewership that we used to get, but we don't necessarily do it because we want a ton of viewers. We do it because we want to share things that we want to talk about to people who want to listen to what we've got to talk about. And that's where I think we're now.
Yeah, I think for anyone who streams or anyone who wants to stream or has high vision of streaming, just turn off the viewer count. Like that's what I started doing. That's what we started doing like about a year ago. We're like, let's just like, it's important to continue to grow and to try and be the best version of yourselves, but stop caring about things that really like there is a 99.9% chance you are not going to do this full time. The people who are doing this full time have extenuating circumstances that allow them to do it full time. Whether it's they, you know, and this is not like a shot at Teja. Teja was great. Teja, one, if I'll say the luck part is the luck of the fact that he was there before a lot of people.
Sure.
He's been around for a long time. He put in the work. Also, photographer. People who stream, people who stream who are in photography have a huge leg up on a lot of people. Because when you look at two streams and one looks like the camera quality is lacking and maybe you know, they're using two C920s are great cameras, but they don't hold a match to like full, like very, very nice mirrorless cameras or DSLRs. So there's a lot of like, when you look at the people that are doing full-time content creation, there's a good reason that they're doing that full time, and it's probably there's probably a lot of things that you don't have access to, and you're not going to be able to do. And that took Eric and I a minute to figure out.
Sure.
To kind of find out, okay, this is not, you know, while we can continue to grow and continue to have fun, this is probably never going to be a full-time thing, but let's make this the best fucking hobby we can make it.
Well, and it's also the aspect of like, if you go with the goal of wanting to get big, making content, doing the influencer style, there's a lot of things you have to do. There's a lot of work that has to be put in a way, and a lot of sacrifices that maybe you're not necessarily willing to make, or things that you're not willing to necessarily do, and risks that are associated with those things. And I think that it's one of those things that the conversation of doing what you love, and the off chance that doing it in the way that you want to, doing it how you want to do it, and because you enjoy it, the off chance that it might just one day just go huge, it's going to be way better than trying to force something that you don't enjoy. Because, like, for instance, say Top Clack got full-time, y'all were making bukus, you had tens of thousands of subs on Twitch, millions of subs on YouTube, and you hated it every time you start streaming on. It would suck. But say Top Clack hits it in 2 years, and all of a sudden you're at that same point, and you're making tons of money. You're able to go full time. You're both able to, support your families doing it. But you love it. It's going to be way better. So it's like, it's not just like the aspect of like, there's a lot of stuff you have to do, and doing what you love when you're streaming, when you're making content, is going to be way better than just trying to do something to get a number or to pander to people. Because I was watching a video the other day that was talking about something similar to this, where in like 2015, right? If you look back at like time of like the iPhone 6, this is specifically about cell phones. When you asked people in that time, what did they want most out of a phone? Is it to be smaller, Even when the iPhone came out, what did people want in a phone? Nicer keys for my BlackBerry, maybe a better hinge on my Motorola Razr, right? But then the iPhone came out, and no one expected that. No one expected that would be the thing that changed it, right? So you can't just pander to people, because people don't necessarily always know exactly what they want. Sometimes you have to just do something that you love, and maybe it hits. But as long as you enjoy it, it's going to be way better for you personally.
100% agree. Yeah, 100% agree. And I think that's the lesson that both Brian and I learned. And we've realized that we didn't have to let the community tell us what we should be streaming. It was easier for us and better for us mentally and physically to decide on what we wanted to stream and when, And the other thing as well is it gives us more time now to go back to chat and see what people are interested in talking about on the stream live while we're there as well. We never used to be able to do that because we had so much stuff to talk about. We basically ignored chat and we didn't really follow up on what people were saying. And now we have the opportunity to go back and listen to people and involve chat in what we're talking about each week. And it makes a whole world of difference to how we stream.
Yeah.
Speaking
of basic builds, what is up? Hope you are doing well. So, guys, if you haven't checked out Basic Builds, check out her stream. She's awesome. She's really cool. We need to get her back on. We haven't had her on. We got her on when she had just started popping off. Like, it was like literally in the middle of her rise. And now she's up there. She's a pro streamer. We need to get her back on. So real quick, before we continue the conversation, I do want to give a quick shout to our awesome sponsors and partners. OmniType right now, guys, 2 more days on GMK DualShot Round 2. Be sure to go check that out. They've got some awesome kits on there. And if you got GMK DualShot Round 1, go check out Accent Kit, because that was not available last year. So there's some new stuff too. Next up, Project Keyboards. You can go to mexon.deck.project.link. They have Lavenders. They have the Sirius keyboard. And
Bingsu's coming.
Bingsu. I was going to say GMK Bakaneko. That's not at all what it is. Bingsu's on its way. It's just being reworked. They're just taking a little bit more time with it, but don't worry, because it's going to come back out and be great. Next up, we've got canonkeys.com/mexondeck. Honestly, click that one, because there's some great stuff. GMK British Racing Green, which I'm sure, Jay, you are fucking all over. I'm sure you probably ordered 50 for yourself.
Maybe not 50, but yeah, it's been bought.
it's been purchased in mass. So they've also got lots of keyboards right now. You can go buy if you are itching for a new keyboard. Can Keys right now. You can go get a keyboard. They also have the Cerulean switches by Durock, which I am told are pretty great, as well as the Dark T1 Ambers and some other stuff. So be sure to check that out. And then kineticlabs.store/Mechs Deck. They've got lots of great switches. They've got lube. They've got everything except basically everything except the keyboard to build a keyboard. So be sure to check that out. And then next up, our partners, Zap Cables. If you want a custom cable, you want to build a custom cable, they've got great stuff, as well as some some of the more unique desk mats in this hobby. So be sure to check them out. You can go to Type Beast, go to typebea.st for the best newsletter in this hobby. It's a fantastic newsletter. It's great. As Eric likes to say, go out on your patio, get yourself a coffee in the morning, and go and read and listen to what he has to say. He's an incredibly smart man. Next up, Smith & Rune. You go to smithrune.com. The Iron 165 Polycarb is coming later this year, as well as extras for the Iron 165 and Iron 180. So stay tuned for that. And 3D Keebs, you can go to 3dkeebs.com. I will reiterate, like I talked about this morning, that sale has been postponed. Please bear with 3D Keebs. She was unfortunately struck by a drunk driver, like about less than 24 hours ago, and had to have surgery on her ankle. She severely broke her ankle. So guys, please go to her Discord, go to 3dkeebs.com, go to the Discord, let her know that you're pulling for her. She's a great person. We just had her on like 3 or 4 weeks ago. She's an amazing person, and we hope the best, Davis, for a quick and speedy recovery. So, but overall, you're a busy guy. you're quite the busy guy. You got Prototypist, you got Top Clack. Where do you see? 2 years ago, you were just starting up Prototypist to run a couple desk mats, maybe a keyboard or two, and now you're thinking about moving out of that warehouse. And 2 years ago, you were begrudgingly doing news segments for Top Clack, and now you're on your new thing. Where are you seeing? What are you excited for coming up, and where are you seeing yourself going?
Yes, I mean, there's probably 3 areas. But Prototypist, I'm just excited to see where the hobby goes, right? I have this chat with other vendors quite a lot, and it's like, are we in a bubble where things are just going to stop selling, or is it going to carry on? And I really don't know, but I'm excited to see, and I'm excited to go on that journey and see what happens. So I think I already have more projects scheduled for the second half of 2021 than I had in the whole of 2020 and the first half of 2021 combined. So that just kind of tells you the sheer volume of stuff that's coming. And it's exciting, right? Like it genuinely is. There's some really, really cool stuff coming. So I'm just excited to see where the hobby's going to go, where it's going to hit that cap, or if it's not going to hit a cap, and just see how that goes. I really don't know. If it goes and carries on for another 6 months, I will need to find a bigger warehouse or a second warehouse. There is a rumor that the warehouse next door to mine might be coming vacant soon, so there is an option for me to just move into both and have both.
Just grab a sledgehammer and throw it through the wall.
Yeah, well, I mean, I rent this warehouse, but I could rent both, and then I would be able to put a doorway through and just have it as one giant space. So we'll see how that goes. I'm interested to see it. In terms of streaming, there's probably 2 areas. One area that I'm really excited about is with Top Clack. Brian and I have this chemistry now that we were lacking when we were doing the news streams. We're able to, because we're so much happy with what we're talking about in streaming, it's much more comfortable to stream, and it just makes us happy to talk about all of those things. So I think we've got a lot of stuff that we want to do, and it's more about serving what we want to talk about in the hobby, just having a chat show between the 2 of us and being able to share those things between us and talk about keyboard related and keyboard adjacent stuff, kind of stuff that's around the fringes of the hobby. So I'm really excited for that, and just genuinely spending more time with Brian is always good, because I love him, but because of the time zone difference, we don't often get time to hang out. So that's our time to hang out and just chat and chew the fat as well as it is to stream, if that makes sense. Like we do all of that kind of rolled into one, which is really nice. And then the third side is I started streaming under the J Prototypist brand as well, because I do a lot of stuff in the workshop, which I show on my Insta stories and I share with people, and people want to see more of it. So I now do streams where I will talk people through how I design a new product. Like I recently started selling keyboard stands. So I literally did a stream where I broke out CAD, opened up Fusion 360, showed them how I designed a keyboard stand, and then made it on the laser cutter with cameras focused on the laser cutter and showing all of that kind of activity, like a build stream, but with like tools involved instead. But I want to share more than that, and I want to do keyboard adjacent or non-keyboard related stuff as well, and kind of do like a whole maker thing. So because that's what I've done. I've retired, I've grown a beard, and I've become the guy that wants to go down to the wood shop and make stuff. Right? I've become that whole hipster thing. I've even bought some like plaid shirts and stuff like that. But like I've got a whole raft of stuff planned for that. Like non-keyboard related stuff. I have like this miniature watch kit where you build a wristwatch. And you build that just with the tools. It gives you everything. It's here. It's really cool. If I can reach it. Ow, turning around like that was a bit odd. But it's like this whole kit that just comes
That's
in like a
sick.
pouch and it gives you the tools. So I want to do stuff like that, and I'm going to build that on stream. I'm going to build myself a little wristwatch, and I'm going to build like a mobile streaming station. So I have like a cart that has a PC and monitor and all of the mics and cameras and everything set up on it that I can wheel anywhere around the 2,200 square foot workshop and show you guys stuff. So I can show 3D printing, or we can do some laser cutting, or I can even show like a QC and packaging stream when the JR1s come in, for example. How does that work? How does that look like? What does that whole process look like? Because most people never see that. And even if only 2 people watch, at least I'll have fun doing it. So yeah, those are
I
things
can
want
tell
to do.
just by how excited you are talking about it. that
Yeah,
it's gonna
like
be a good time.
being able to make stuff, right? It's cool. That's why I do what I do. That's why I don't have a day job anymore, is so I can make stuff that I don't need. Like that's literally it. Like I can make stuff that I don't have a need for purely because I can. And just silly things as well. Like go back to my childhood. So this is a real tangent that I'm going to go off at here. But do you guys remember Pogs, milk caps? And you used to
Yep.
have Pogs and slammers. You used to flip them over, little bits
Yep.
of card with designs
We've
on.
talked
I
about
just
this.
moved. I just
This
moved
is, like,
recently.
not
Found
the
Pogs.
first- This is not the
Right.
first time this year that Pogs have come up on the stream.
I'm glad you guys are on the same page. So I used to love them when I was a kid, and I actually collected the whole of the first and the second series of the official Pog line. And I have all of like the slammers and everything in the same colors and stuff like that. And one of the things I want to do is frame them. So I'm going to do a whole stream where I bust out CAD and I start to create like a piece of material that can hold all the certain discs and stuff and put them in order. Then we're going to create a frame and we're going to laser cut it all and we're going to put that up on the wall. But what I thought would be cool as well is, wouldn't it be cool to actually buy a full set of unopened Pogs?
Oh my
Um,
Open that
god.
up.
and just open one at every stream, right? How cool would that be? So this is full of all of the individual bags that you used to get. There's
Good
60 of them in
lord.
here,
Man,
and
that's
just
bringing
open one
some
up on each
feels
stream,
back.
right? How cool is that? These are completely sealed, brand new, and I just figured that when I do the Pog stream, I'll just start opening one of these each stream, and we'll see what I get in it, and we'll see if I can get the whole collection. So this is the actual second run of them. This is actually from Australia, and they re-released the original Pogs in about 2005, so it's not the OG ones, but it's a brand new retail box as it would have been in the supermarket or whatever. And the idea is to see if I can get the whole of that collection out of that one box of 60 packets.
That's I know because Eric and I grew up. We didn't meet until we were in our 20s, but we grew up like 3 miles away from it. Like we could easily walk to like our parents' houses were so close. And we used to get. I'm sure you and I went to. We were probably at Cece's at the same time, at
Right.
some point, because there's a Cece's literally right next to our place.
Yeah.
And they used to. And you remember those crank machines.
Mhm.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
They always had a Pog one there, where you could, most of the time it was like stickers or some like frog, like rubber frog that would like flip. It was
Gotcha. Yeah.
weird, but yeah, but they always had those where you could just kind of can get one.
Yeah.
Oh,
I used to play
old
Pogs
school.
with my brother. I still have my entire collection. When I found them, I was so excited when I was moving and I found my Pog collection in the giant, it's like a lime green tube that's like this long,
Yeah, yeah,
just
the
full of
tubes, yeah.
pogs. And I found it when I was moving. I was like, I'm throwing a bunch of stuff away, but I'm keeping the pogs. And I
I
got them.
don't blame you, man. I
They're in
don't
my
blame you.
closet.
I
Hell
don't.
yeah.
Well, when I create this kind of like thing to display them, I will send you the file so you can have one made up and you can display
yeah.
them as well.
Hell
Okay.
yeah. What's coming up? What's coming up for Prototypist? What are you shipping out soon? And when is the J03 and J04 and J05 coming out?
Uh, there's other things before the next J series board will come out. Well, in fact, there's two things that are going to happen relatively soon. I haven't really talked about either of them, but maybe a bit of an exclusive for. There is a TKL coming. I know I said that TKL was never the thing I wanted to do, but I am going to do a TKL with James, AKB. That's coming soon. It's called the BB TKL. If anyone can guess what BB stands for, I'd be really interested. But yeah, we'll see. Mr. Petrov was talking about the Allison. Yeah, we're going to do the Allison group buy as well. There's also the Argyle. I don't know if you guys have seen that, but it's the 60% with the windows on the sides for the diodes and capacitors and all of the components. It's like one of those component style builds. Big Bully. It's not Big Bully. No. So yeah, so we've got those coming. There's a couple of other key sets that I have personally in the works as well. I need to speak to both Mike and hopefully Upas as well about those. So there's more things coming from there. The big thing that's going to ship from Prototype as soon is the JO1. So the JO1 Rev1 group buy, all 500-ish boards, they should be with me next month. So then it's going to come 2 or 3 weeks of quality control, packing, and shipping. So I'm really excited to get those out as well.
Maybe one day GMK Americana will see the light.
The light of day.
Do you know, I had more people ask for that in the first half of this year than have ever asked for it before in total. And
Really?
I don't know that now is the right time for that key set.
I honestly
I
kind of
don't
thought
know
it
that
was
there
a
is
dead.
a right time for that key set.
I thought it was a dead meme at this point, but I guess not.
No, I don't think it's a dead meme at the minute. I think there's some people that are really interested. Interestingly, a lot of Chinese people seem to approach me and want it. Like the Chinese community, they really want it. I don't know why. I think Americana stuff must be big over there. But yeah, I don't think it'll ever run. I don't think it'll ever run. Maybe we'll see, but no serious plans right now for that one.
There it is. Well, Jay, thank you very, very much for coming on the show. Thank you for staying up. I know it's like what, 3 in the morning for you right now?
4:10.
10 past 4.
in the morning right now, yeah.
What our time zone? So thank you for staying up. One,
You're welcome.
and glad we just we don't get to talk to you enough, and then it sucks because time zones. Like whenever I try and catch you, I like have to remind myself like first thing you do when you get up tomorrow morning is message him because it'll be right around the end of his day and he might be sitting at his computer about to leave or something, and try and catch him at like 9 in the morning for me, so that I can catch you before you're just off.
Yeah. See, I keep seeing Eric and Brian playing video games, and it's right around, well, it's usually around 1 a.m. as I'm just going to bed, you guys start. And quite often I think, oh man, I'd just kill for like a good video game session. And then it's always right around 1 a.m. For me. And yeah, it's just too late in the day.
Yeah. We do play a lot of video games, Brian and I.
Yeah, that's cool.
That's the ironic part for those who don't know. Quakeums and Osiris, Eric and Brian hang out probably more than Jay and Brian and myself and Eric do.
This is true.
The irony of Top Clank and Max on Tech. Jay, I'll start staying up with you, man. We'll game.
That sounds good.
I got the summer off, man. So
dude, just live on that UK schedule. I lived on the West Coast schedule.
I've been basically living on the West Coast schedule forever. But thank you very much, Eric. What are you doing this weekend?
Yeah, so Saturday I will be doing the exploration stream as I have dubbed it. I'm gonna be messing around with we got some Bakken Neko boards, so I'm gonna be building mine up. I'm gonna be doing some testing between the Kinetic Lab Hippo switches, which I still have on my desk, and the Lavenders. So I'm trying to decide which ones I want to put in my Bower. I'm rebuilding my Bower in a couple weeks. So I'm going to be messing around with those switches as well as checking out a little bit more in depth the Bakken Neko, which is a pretty cool board for not a lot of money from Cannon Keys. That'll be coming around again here hopefully soon. So yeah,
Nice.
come hang out.
Nice. Let me know what you think of the lavender switches because I'm a huge fan of them. And I just got my shipment of the cerulean switches in, and they are the tactile version of the lavenders, and they're really good. They're
That's
really good.
interesting because I kind of thought the T1 Dark Ambers were also, I thought they're really good. I've got the lavenders in my Alice style board, and it's the
Nice.
board I use the most because it's it's gonna be at the bottom of my closet for the next 2 months because it's my work board. But I love the lavenders. I think I didn't lube them. I put some lube
Yeah,
on the
they're great, man.
springs.
I agree.
I went straight for it, and they sound great and they feel great.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
But well, Jay, thanks again for coming on, and we hope to talk to you very soon, and
No,
get
it's been
better
fun
too.
having you
Get
guys.
better. You know,
Thank
take
you.
it easy, relax, and I hope good health towards you in the coming
Oh,
weeks.
thanks, man. I'm hoping for a swift recovery as well. And I can actually get back to doing stuff in the workshop properly.
Absolutely. Well, we are going to be closing it up tonight. I think we'll find someone to raid here in just a second, send you
Yeah.
over somewhere. And, but yeah, come hang out with us again on Saturday at 12 Central Time. So yeah, and we building that
Yeah.
Bakken Neko, hanging out, having a good time. But with that being said, thanks again, Jay, and we'll see you on Saturday.